the president saying to them, we're extending an open hand. If you guys want to meet us, if you guys want to change your relationship with the United States, we will change our relationship with Iran. That's the offer, and we're going to have to see whether they meet us there.
Vice President J.D. Vance speaking about the deal that I guess is at a memorandum of understanding point at this point, an agreement to talk about having an agreement. And we're all leaning in, and I'll be honest, I am in a trust but verify stance right now with this administration and this conflict, and I hope, if I'm being optimistic, I just hope that we are on our way to ending this whole thing with a true full victory. Let's get to our guest. Senator Jim Talent joins us once again from a United States Senator from Missouri and Congressman, as well as Chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Senator, thanks for being with us on a Monday. It's good to have you back.
It is good as always to be with you, Annie.
Thank you. This weekend there's a lot of news this weekend, a lot of events taking place. But in the midst of all of that, Friday, we kind of heard, okay, maybe a deal is imminent. We've heard that before. Is this situation right now, is this moment different than the others where we thought we were a step closer to peace?
Yeah, because I think they have something that is a deal. In other words, I would guess now that there is something that has been agreed to and that is going to be signed. And I don't think we've ever been at this stage, although we're not certain and we don't know what's in it. I mean, we can guess. I could guess. But yeah, I think something's going to happen, and I think they're going to release the terms of it probably on Wednesday.
Okay. Why Wednesday?
That's what I'm hearing. Which is good because it tells me that they're releasing it on Wednesday, sign it on Friday. So it's not something that's going to be dropped on us at the time that they sign it, which means the administration's pretty proud of it. And I expect that it's a good deal. I mean, we can talk if you want. It's your interview. We can talk about what's probably in it.
Well, I've seen a lot. This is in the same breath. I'm hearing from people who, they woke up this morning knowing exactly how they felt about everything Donald Trump was yet to do that day. They can't stand the man. But I hear a lot of people saying, we don't know anything that's in it. And then they proceed to talk about how bad of a deal it is. How is that even possible?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to distinguish between what would be between a bad deal and a deal that doesn't get everything we want, but preserves the gains that we've had and preserves our options for the future. And that's what I suspect this is. Okay, so what are the gains we've had without going through it all? So the whole strategy of the Islamic Republic has been overthrown. They're emasculated, isolated, and very insecure at home. And we are continuing to throttle them economically. I'll get to that issue in just a second. In addition, I think it's important to remember the only leverage they've had is this threat to the Strait, and that's a wasting asset for them because within a short time, as these kinds of things are figured, the Gulf states are not going to need the Strait anymore. They're the ones, the producers, the Gulf states aren't going to need it because they're busy building, other means of getting product to port, and the customers are going to need it much less because they're busy, preparing to buy more oil from us, natural gas from us. So what I suspect is that the Gulf states wanted a period of stability, and the president thought that would be a good idea, preserving our options for the future. Now, it's one thing if the deal gives them a little economic relief on freezing assets, or says that we're not, for the time being, going to oppose additional sanctions. I'll have a problem if there's a major lifting of existing sanctions, because that would empower them in a serious way. But I'm going to be surprised if that's in it.
So I know there are discussions about money to rebuild Iran and where that would come from and how that would be funded. Does that come from the American taxpayer? Does that come from sanction relief or unlocked funds? How does that work?
Well, knowing Trump, I doubt it's going to come from the American taxpayer. Maybe we'll charge the Europeans like we've done for the aid to Ukraine. Under the right circumstances, I think it would come from unfreezing their assets. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think that the Islamic Republic's going to perform any future promises or any promises that have to be performed in the future. But if they don't, then, of course, any commitments that we've made under this go out the window as well. And under circumstances, it'll be more favorable. I mean, if they try something with the Strait in the future, now you're going to have huge international involvement and pressure on it. And again, if we can continue enforcing the sanctions we've got, which are very extensive, then all we've really done is opened up the Strait for the time being in return for lifting the blockade. If that's the core of this deal, they withdraw their threats to the Strait, we lift the blockade. As I said, I think it's a good deal and the best we could get if we were not prepared to open the Strait by force, which evidently we were not prepared to do.
Do you think we should try that? Do you think that the opening it without any sort of agreement on Iran, do you think that that is something that would be in America's best interest?
That would have been my instinct because I think that's checkmate. This is the only leverage they've got. Nothing else they've tried has worked. They've not been able to impose any costs and consequences on us or on the rest of the world except this. So my instinct would have been to take that away from them by forcing the Strait. But as we've discussed, I suspect that our Gulf allies and partners, the Saudis, the UAE, which is a very important partner, I think they were very concerned about that. And to be fair to them, they're the ones who would be on the firing line if we tried that. And you got to understand what we want going forward, which is a stable Middle East, an equilibrium under American leadership, with Israeli military power to back it up and consisting of Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and the Gulf states. So we have to take into account what the Gulf states want. It's a coalition management type issue.
Senator Talent speaking with us right now. So, Senator, my question, based on what I'm hearing a lot from people, pundits who are in the media, various different channels and takes, there are a lot of folks who are saying, if we wrap this thing up right now, that nothing has changed. If the Strait is open, it was open before this war started. That President Trump has lost American lives, that he has, gained essentially nothing, that there was no purpose. And this is a phrase that I've heard a lot today, and I suspect we will hear very much so going into the midterm elections. The left is referring to this as a war of choice. So can you react to this war of choice at this point, if we do actually achieve peace? Is anything different from when we started to this war that President Trump chose to participate in? What's changed?
It was a war of choice in the sense that we could have ignored this prime opportunity to break Iranian power and destroy their strategy in the Middle East, and we could have kept kicking the can down the road, as we've done basically, to be fair, for the last 47 years. We could have done that, but we were in a situation where their weakness had been exposed over the last 2.5 years. We were in the strongest possible position because the Israelis have emerged as the hegemon of the Middle East, and we were able to conduct this campaign to break their military power, destroy their military-industrial base, degrade or destroy their proxies. I mean, Syria is gone now as a proxy. Hamas has been destroyed as an organized military force. You're seeing what Israel is doing to Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Houthis have been afraid to do anything to this point. So the initiative in the region has decisively shifted now away from Iran. This is policy. I mean, this is policy with a purpose and consistency over time. And obviously, we hated losing the lives that we lost. I mean, one casualty is one too many. But I suspect a lot of the guys and gals serving in Indo-PACOM were more than willing to make the Iranians pay the butcher's bill for what they've done to thousands of our servicemen and women over the years. And, that's what gets me all hotted up about this. They have attacked Americans with impunity, but not impunity any longer. So, and it was a sense in which we could have done nothing. I mean, that's what we have been doing. But then the threat would grow and grow, and eventually result in Iran being a nuclear state. And I can just tell you that is probably the single worst thing that could have happened in the world if we're talking in terms of what nation states might do. And that is not going to happen now.
Did the prior administrations, Biden's administration, Obama's administration, did they know where the Iran situation was heading? Did they know that nuclear Iran was worst case scenario?
Well, they would say they did, but I think they were beguiled by this illusion, this wish casting, that the Islamic Republic could be made into a responsible state actor, and by buying them off. And obviously, it didn't work. They were within months of being able to get a nuclear weapon. And after the losses they'd suffered because of what the Israelis had done and because of what we did in Operation Midnight Hammer, they were, and this is very logical from their point of view, moving to reconstitute all their capabilities as quickly as possible. Well, we prevented that by taking out their military-industrial complex. So, and they've lost 50% of their GDP. As I said, they have been turned from a deadly threat into a problem that we can manage. Now, I would have liked to get rid of them. And this is the tension between the United States and Israel, because if you analyze the risk rewards for Israel, it was worth it to them to continue all this in an effort to get rid of the regime. But it's not worth it in terms of American interests. And despite what some people think, not just on the left, Israel doesn't run our policy. The president runs our policy. So they're going to be free to deal with Hezbollah. Trump wants them to deal with that. But he thought it was best for us at this point to pause, if you will, while preserving our options going forward. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I would have liked to see them completely broken or collapsing. But, I said in January on this show, during the last set of demonstrations, that I thought the fall of the Islamic Republic was now inevitable. I just didn't know how imminent it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's more imminent now than it was.
Last question before we let you go. We're grateful for your time. We're speaking with Senator Jim Talent. The G7 gathering is happening today, and we're watching as Macron greets people in France, greets the leaders there. How does this hyper-political global meeting of these minds affect this moment, or does this moment affect this meeting?
Well, I think they wanted the Strait open too. I mean, you have to remember, we of course hated the gas prices going up, but if you look in terms of potential long-term damage, this was much worse for the Europeans and the Asians than it was for us. And the president has now, assuming this is finalized this week, he's eased that pressure on them, and I think he's going to say now to them, okay. Now, number one, if they threaten the Strait again, we're going to expect you to be on board with our efforts to open it up. And number two, there's a new balance, a new equilibrium emerging in the Middle East, and you need to get on board. And so that's, I think, insofar as this summit is about the Middle East, I think that's the message he's going to send.
Well, we'll be watching closely. Senator Talent, we're thankful for you always taking our phone call and asking you to come on here to talk to us. We're always grateful for it. Thanks for being with us again.
You are welcome. Have a good day.
You as well. Bye-bye.